Good morning, Unity. I'm Jonathan Purcell, Reverend Wendy's son. Wendy will be on in just a few moments to go over her next lesson on her book, Ask Yourself This, How to Improve Your Relationships. So sit back, take a moment, and get ready with your loved ones. The Unity Center streams all of its Sunday services at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, but then also we'll put the recordings on both their Facebook page and their YouTube channel. You can comment and share the video on Facebook if you feel so compelled. It really helps the message get out there to more people. And if you are watching on YouTube later on, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. That way you will not miss any of the Unity Center's other wonderful content that is posted. Thank you very much, and Wendy will be with you shortly.
Good morning, Unity. This is Wendy Craig-Purcell from the Unity Center in San Diego, and if you are joining us for the very first time this morning, a very special and warm welcome to you. If you do live in the San Diego area, come and check us out sometime when we're able to do our services in person. We hope that's going to be pretty soon. I want to welcome you into this experience of setting the tone for our service, and the way that I like to do this is with the striking and the playing of our antique Tibetan singing bowl. And what I have found is that when I hear a particular sound like the Tibetan singing bowl, it automatically helps put me in a different frame of mind because I associate that sound with centering, getting quiet, and being present to listen not only for, but to that still small voice within. So enjoy the start of our service with the striking and the playing of this Tibetan singing bowl. As the sound becomes a bit more quiet, feel yourself becoming more quiet and centered. let us join together for a moment of prayer. And as we do, I want to share with you a prayer thought that was suggested by one of our members, that each week as we start our service together, that we send our prayer energy and dedicate our time together to a particular group of people or situation impacted by the coronavirus. And so as we join together in this time of service, in this time of prayer, we want to direct our prayer energy and thoughts toward those who are older, toward our seniors who are more vulnerable. And so we just hold an affirmative thought for them, affirming divine health and strength and vitality, affirming the light and energy of spirit surrounding and unfolding them, quickening the life force within them. And we likewise affirm that this is a time for each of us to remember that we are connected to Source, and that if we seem to be experiencing any changes in our economic situation, that we acknowledge that we are connected with Source, and that we keep ourselves open and receptive to new channels of supply to bless us with abundance and with whatever it is that we need. We know in unity the power of affirmative prayer, and so we speak these words with intention, and we send them forward, we release them, we let them go to do their perfect work, giving thanks in advance that they do not return void, that they establish that which we have set as our intention. Health for all and abundance. And so we begin. Amen and amen. We'll also be sending out an affirmative prayer that you can use in your prayer practice each day and throughout the week. The music that I've selected this morning is a piece by well-known and much loved and admired artist and musician. Her name is Karen Taylor Good. And this is a beautiful piece that she wrote. It's called Perfect Work of Art. Perfect Work of Art. Enjoy. It's a beautiful message in that song, isn't it? To chip away that which wasn't David, to reveal what was, and for us to live our lives in such a way that we chip away and can reveal the perfect work of art that we really are. In Unity, one of our core principles is that we are divine, that each and every person has the seed of the divine, the seed of God within him or her. And so much of our life journey really is about discovering that and then letting go of anything that we've picked up along the way that has somehow diminished that. And I think Jesus talked about the same thing when he talked about us being the light of the world, and that we were not to hide that light, but we were to let that light shine. And relationships are one of the key areas in which we can be buffed bright, if you will, but we'll get into that in just a few minutes. So I have some readings that I'd like to share with you this morning in support of the message, How to Improve Your Relationships. The first is from Mike Murdoch. He's an author. Each relationship nurtures a strength or weakness within you. Each relationship nurtures a strength or weakness within you. From the poet Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, if you treat an individual as if he were what he ought to be and could be, he will become what he ought to be and could be. From Mother Teresa, if you judge people, you have no time to love them. From Anais Nin, the author, we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. From Charlotte Bronte, life appears to me too short to be spent in nursing animosity or registering wrongs. From Mahatma Gandhi, relationships are based on 4 principles: respect, understanding, acceptance, and appreciation. From Carl Jung, the meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Let me repeat that one. The meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are going to be transformed. And this last one, I hope, causes you to chuckle. It sure did me. I don't know who to attribute it to. Relationships are like a walk in the park. Jurassic Park. Yeah, that one got me too. Because relationships can be difficult and complicated. We're going to be talking about that in just a bit. But we're going to move into a time of prayer and meditation together now. And in Unity, we really look at this practice as key to everything else that we do. Because we know how easy it is to get busy and distracted and have all of our attention outer directed. And yet, so much of what helps us to live a life more on purpose, to have greater health and happiness and well-being, is to be able to become quiet from time to time, reflective, and listen from a deeper place within us for guidance and support in the living out of our lives. So we're going to move into a time of prayer and meditation with a little bit of background music from Janet Hammer, our music director. Siri was acting up a little bit this morning. And so I invite you to go ahead and close your eyes and allow yourself to become as comfortable as you can. You do want to sit with your back straight, your legs uncrossed, and let your hands rest comfortably in your lap. And go ahead, if you haven't already done so, and close your eyes. And we do this for the obvious reason, to help block out any external distractions and to be able to really focus our attention inward. Go ahead and allow your attention to rest with your breath. Just noticing the breath in and the breath out. The breath in and the breath out. Take a moment to notice your body, if there's any tension you're holding anywhere. Oftentimes we hold tension in our shoulders, or our jaw, or across our forehead. Notice without judging it. And oftentimes just taking a somewhat deeper and slower breath in and out, as if you were breathing into and out of that area that might be tense or tight, can help it begin to loosen and relax. And we'll do a cycle of 3 conscious breaths in and out, associating with each exhalation a very simple practice. And so go ahead and take a nice, deep and steady breath in. And as you let that breath go, practice the feeling of release. And another deep and mindful breath in. And as you let that breath go, practice being present And another deep and mindful breath in. And as you let that breath go, practice the feeling of opening up. Continue for a few moments in that cycle at a pace that feels natural and easy to you. Conscious of the breath in, mindful of the breath out. Releasing. Being present. And opening up. Releasing. Being present. And opening up. I invite you now to direct your attention to the area of your heart, the center of your chest. Imagining for the next few moments that every breath is moving in and through the area of your heart. Every mindful breath moving in and through the area of your heart. With your attention still focused on the breath and aware of the heart, practice holding for these next few moments a positive feeling, one that helps you to feel better, perhaps a feeling of peace, perhaps the feeling of faith, perhaps a feeling of gratitude or compassion. Imagine that with each mindful breath in, you are breathing that quality into every fiber of your being, and that with each breath out, you are releasing it as if it is a silent blessing being sent from you and radiating outward in ever-widening circles. Breathing that quality in and breathing that out. Practicing now with only the sound of the music in the background, and with your attention on the breath and in the area of the heart. take a deep breath in. And let that breath go. So you bring your time of meditation to a close simply with the feeling of thank you, Spirit. Thank you, Spirit. Amen and amen. And if you happen to be enjoying this morning service with somebody, turn to them now and greet them with the salutation, Namaste. Namaste. The divine in me, where God resides in me, sees and recognizes that in you as well. Namaste. I have another piece of music that I wanted to share with you this morning before moving into my lesson on how to improve your relationships. And it's another piece by Karen Taylor Good, and I do hope that you'll take the time to check out her website, and if you don't already own her music, to support her work, send her a letter or a note of encouragement, as well as purchasing some of her music. Karen Taylor Good. And this piece is called Hands, and I think it serves as a really important reminder to us today.
We come from different lands. We speak in ways we can't all understand. But we've got one thing in common, and it goes way beyond the words. Simple gifts we're bringing to this world. Hands reaching out, hands lifting up, welcoming each other. Open hands of love. Some hands pray to Jesus, some to Yahweh, some Allah. Showing up with these hands, doing the work of love. Strong hands, doing the work of love. When the earth is shaking and the flood waters rise, in the middle of a life we hardly recognize, that's when we pull together and guide each other home. No one has to go through this alone. Hands reaching out, hands lifting up, welcoming each other. Open hands of love. Some hands pray Namaste, some Om Namah Shiva. Showing up with these hands, doing the work of love. Strong hands, doing the work of love. Doing the work, healing the hurt, ready or not, walking the talk. We're doing our best, to just say yes. Here's the plan. All join hands, hands reaching out, hands lifting up, welcoming each other. Open hands of love. Some hands honor Mother Earth, celebrate the stars above. Showing up with these hands, doing the work. Hands reaching out, hands lifting up, welcoming each other. Open hands of love. Some hands pray to Jesus, some to Yahweh, some Allah. Showing up with these hands, doing the work of love. Strong hands, doing the work of love. Strong hands, doing the work.
That is such a unity message. Doing the work of love. Some pray to Jesus, some pray Namaste, some pray to Allah, some to Om Namah Shiva, and on and on. It's one of the things that actually drew me into unity was that we believe in unity, that there is one power, one presence. Some call that power and presence God, but not everybody calls it by that same name. And while there is the one, there are many paths to the one. And each of us needs to find the path that really speaks to our minds, our hearts, and our spirits, so that we then can unleash that perfect work of art that we were talking about in the song that we began with this morning. So how to improve your relationships? Let me begin by saying I think relationships are complicated. How about you? I think relationships are complicated. I think that relationships are complicated because people are complex. Relationships are complicated because people are complex. Our personalities, our ways of being are not always consistent. Have you noticed that? And sometimes it's easier, isn't it, to notice that in somebody else, but the same is true of us. Our personalities, our ways of being are not always consistent. It's not a simple black or white. There are many shades of gray. We are nuanced. We are complex for many different reasons. We're complex because of the family of origins that we came from. We're complex because of the culture that we're born into and how that culture molds and shapes us. We're complex because of the experiences that we've had, the easy ones and the joyful ones, the benefits, the blessings, as well as the hardships and the injustices. They shape us. And even the time in history in which we are born plays into the development of how complex we are as people. And because of our complexity, that makes relationships, generally speaking, pretty complicated. I was thinking about how this pandemic in so many ways is becoming a defining moment for our young people. As I think about those in our community who are graduating high school right now or graduating college, or those trying to go off to college, this is such a defining moment for them, where so much of what they thought was going to be happening, the way it was going to happen, is completely shifted. They will look back on this experience, as I think we all will, as being very much a defining moment, much as in a couple of generations before us, the Great Depression was a defining moment for many that molded and shaped the way they thought about prosperity and abundance and frugality and those kinds of things. And this pandemic is that defining moment that's going to shape us. It is shaping us as individuals. A key is that it's not just that we have different kinds of relationships. We have acquaintances and friendships and family relationships and business relationships and our intimate relationships. But what's also true is our very view of what relationship means plays a big role in how we relate to others. If our primary view of relationship is about, well, what can I get out of this relationship? What can I get from knowing this person? It's going to be very different than if our primary view of relationships is, what can I give? What can I give? Or if our primary view is, who and what might I become as a result of this relationship? And so you see, it's not just whether it's a friendship or a business relationship or an intimate relationship. The general mindset that we hold about our relationships is going to impact them significantly. You know, there's been quite a bit of writing and talking and blogging about how this shelter in place is really impacting primary relationships, and that those couples, those partnerships that genuinely enjoy each other's company are finding it easy, or easier at least, to go through this pandemic, but compare that or contrast that with those whose relationships maybe were a little rocky, or there was a bunch of stuff under the surface that had not been dealt with, unresolved hurts or unacknowledged problems or challenges. This sheltering in place gives one no room really to escape that, right? But to look within and to try to find a way to move through together. It's true that some people are really easy to love and others not so much so. Some people are really easy to love and others not so much so. But I want to encourage us to remember that those relationships that are difficult, those relationships and individuals that we find challenging to love, those can be a mighty important catalyst for our own growth. For you see, one of my fundamental beliefs about relationships is that they are there for me to work on myself, for me to become a better version of myself. Jesus said, "What reward do you have if you love only those who love you?" It's easy to love the people that love us, right? It's easy to love the people that are easy to love and easy to get along with. He said, "What reward do you have, though, if you only love those who love you?" I think what he was getting at, he told us that we needed to love those who were more difficult to love, not to be a doormat. It's not about that, and it's never about subjecting ourselves to any kind of abuse. But the point he was making is that when we work from inside of ourselves to try to come into a difficult relationship with a kinder heart, with deeper understanding, with appreciating the complexities of individuals, then we are the ones that are going to benefit so much, because we will be growing into a better, stronger, brighter version of ourselves. Now, in my book, I want to share with you some of the questions that I think can be helpful in improving relationships. This first one is this: how much room do I give people to grow and change? How much room do I give people to grow and change? I'm smiling because I'm remembering Unity Minister, the late Unity Minister, Reverend Sue Sicking, who used to say, "The largest room in the universe is the room for improvement." And she's sure right about that. She was sure right about that. In relationships, how much room do I give people to grow and change? Am I holding people to the last mistake that they made, to just their shortcomings, to their last bad decision? Is that what I'm fixating on? Or do I expand my view? Do I try to remember that they are a complex individual just as I am? They are neither all this nor all that. And can I hold a bigger picture? How much room do I give people to grow and change? And as they are growing and changing, am I doing my part to update my pictures of them? And by that, I mean to recognize the growth that they have made. I have found that when there's something inside of me that I'm trying to work on to improve, if I make the slightest bit of improvement in that, it seems monumental to me because I've been working so hard on it. But it may or may not be noticed by another. And here I'm thinking, I've worked so hard, honey, to change this. Can't you see it? And the flip side of that, especially in our primary relationships, is if we know that our partner is working hard to become maybe more positive or more patient or more understanding or more communicative, then we need to be paying attention to any movement in that direction and acknowledging it, being a cheerleader to it, I remember learning from fishermen that when fishermen are trying to catch crabs, that they get them, they put them in a basket, but they don't need to put a lid on the basket, because as soon as there is a second crab in that basket, if one starts to try to climb up outside of the basket, the other one's going to pull him right back down. We do not want to live our lives that way with each other. We do not want to pull people down. We want to do whatever we can to help lift people up, giving them room to grow and change, and being a spiritual cheerleader for them when they do. Second question, how safe is it for people to walk through the corridors of your mind? How safe is it for people to walk through the corridors of your mind? Here's a really scary thought. What would it be like if every thought you thought about an individual was broadcast over a loudspeaker? Would that be a safe place for that other person? Maybe not always. How safe is it for people to walk through the corridors of your mind? Such a helpful reminder in creating a safe place is to practice speaking in such a way that others will want to listen, and to listen in such a way that others will want to speak, that others will want to open up to us. Let me repeat that. To speak in such a way that others will want to listen to us, and to listen in such a way that others will want to speak, that they will feel safe. Here's two contrasting stories of married couples. One couple was married for about 15 years, and they'd been having a lot of disagreements and challenges. And they agreed that they wanted to work on their marriage and improve it. And so the wife had the idea, let's have a box on which we, at the end of every day, write on a slip of paper anything that any fault that we found in the other for the day, so that it would be out in the open at the end of the month. And so the husband agreed to this, and at the end of every day, each of them would take time to fill out a slip of paper and put it in the box. And so the wife would, left the lid off the jar of jelly, left his dirty socks on the floor, squeezed the toothpaste tube from the middle instead of the end, and whatever it was that she was irritated by, she felt a certain kind of sense of relief by being able to write it down and put it in the, quote, fault box. At the end of the month, they opened up that box and started to read what each had put in. And the husband quietly read each and every slip of paper and gave it some thought. And she read each and every slip of his paper, and on every single slip of paper he had written, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Contrast that with a couple who were celebrating their golden wedding anniversary, 50 years of being together. And one of the younger adult members in the family asked Grandma, what do you attribute 50 years of being married to Grandpa to? And Grandma said to her, well, on the day that we were married, or the day before we were married, I decided to mentally make a list of qualities about your dad, or my husband, qualities about my husband, faults that I would choose to forget in our relationship if they ever came up. So mentally I made a list of 10 faults that if he did these things, I was just going to forgive him in advance. And what she said is that as the years passed, when things would happen, she would say, good thing, that was on his fault list. I gotta let it go. I might have been hopping mad, but I've gotta let it go because I put it on that list and said I'm never gonna hold him hostage to that. Not a bad idea, huh? Not a bad idea. I think so often it becomes easy for us to make things, little things, become big things that really don't need to be big things. Let me speak in such a way that others will want to listen. Let me listen in such a way that others will want to speak and open up. Let me be a safe place. Third question, do I have the full picture? Do I have the full picture? You may recall the best-selling book by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. And agreement number 3 was make no assumptions. Make no assumptions. And contained in that practice or that idea is making sure you have the full picture, which means to check things out, to not just fill in the blank in the absence of information. But if you're wondering about something in a relationship, don't jump to a conclusion. Go check it out first. I remember a quote from years ago, what the world needs most is a great big net for those who jump to conclusions. In the absence of information, the human tendency is to fill in the blank with a negative story, and that's really damaging in relationships. Do I have the full picture? Am I willing to sit and inquire and go check it out? Important, important. Fourth, how do I show up when I get a no? This, to me, at least in my many years now of serving as a minister, is a real mark of someone's degree of emotional maturity and spiritual growth, is how do they show up when they get a no? How do I show up when I get a no, or when people disappoint me? How do I show up? Toward the end of his career, the great Babe Ruth, though he had hit more than 700 home runs in his career, as his career was ending and he was kind of losing his skill and his ability, he was playing one of his last games. I don't know for sure if it was the last game, but he was playing one of his last games. And he had done so badly, he had struck out 3 times, and he was leaving the field to the crowds just that had totally turned on him, booing and hissing and hollering. And all of a sudden, a very young boy, back in the days when you could kind of do this, jumped over the little railing to go onto the field and grabbed Babe Ruth by the legs and just gave him the biggest hug and said, "You are my hero." The little boy had tears in his eyes, and Babe Ruth bent down to pick him up. And in that moment, as the crowd watched, this little boy, who wasn't holding the babe to the fact that he was not having a good game, didn't hold him to that, but knew who he had been, and it was his hero, just gave him a hug. The crowd went silent. You and I have the opportunity to grow tremendously, I think, by checking ourselves when we get a no to something we want. How do we handle that? Does the ugliest part of us come out, or can we stretch into being a little more understanding, or a little more patient, or a little kinder? Even if we don't like the no, it's not about liking it. It's not even about whether we agree with it. Chances are we probably don't like it. Chances are probably we don't agree with it. But that's no excuse for showing up in an unkind and angry and resentful sort of way. Remember, this whole chapter in this book is about how to improve your relationships. Any one of these practice will definitely improve your relationships. Here's kind of a bonus question. What's your part in this? When something is going sideways in a relationship, to ask yourself, what's your part in this? What's your part in this? We are always 100% responsible for our 50% of the relationship. I am always 100% responsible for my 50% of how I show up as a mom. I'm always 100% responsible for my 50% of how I show up as a wife. You are 100% responsible for your 50% of how you show up in any relationship with any other person. And so the willingness and the vulnerability and the personal courage and spiritual maturity it takes to step aside for a moment, to calm down, and to ask oneself, what's my part in this? How is the way that I am thinking or acting or being or believing contributing to this particular situation? I read this Reader's Digest story years ago. John was driving home, not my John. John was driving home late one night when he picked up a hitchhiker. And as he rode along with the hitchhiker, he began to become suspicious of his passenger. And so he checked his wallet to see if it was safe in his coat pocket that was on the seat between him and the hitchhiker. And he couldn't find his wallet there. And so he turned to the hitchhiker that he had picked up and said to him, "Hand over the wallet immediately." And his hitchhiker was frightened and handed over the wallet to John immediately and got out of the car. Well, as soon as John got home, he barely got into the house when his wife said, "Honey, by the way, I forgot to tell you, you left your wallet at home." What's my part in this? Where and how am I jumping to conclusions? Do I have all of the facts? Am I willing to update my pictures? Am I willing to give the other the benefit of the doubt? Am I willing to stay in a difficult conversation and not be difficult in it, but to stay in the difficult conversation, bringing my best self to that conversation, so at the very least I can take responsibility for my part in it, And the last question that I would offer you is this: what yardstick am I applying? In my relationships, what yardstick am I applying? It kind of goes to the idea that we judge ourselves by our intentions and we judge others by their actions. Let me read this to you. It's a piece I found years ago. I don't know to whom to attribute it. You or me? When the other person acts that way, he's ugly. When I do it, it's just my nerves. When she's set in her way, she's obstinate. When you do it, it's just firmness. When he doesn't like your friends, he's prejudiced. When you don't like his, you're showing good judgment. When she tries to be accommodating, she's apple polishing. When you do it, you're just using tact. When he takes time to do things, he's dead slow. When you take ages, you're deliberate. When she picks flaws, she's cranky. When you do it, you're discriminating it. A difference, right, between the yardstick. Just notice, be willing to ask yourself, what is the yardstick that I'm using here? Namaste. As we bring our time to a close, I want to just update you on a few things. We will start moving our services, not in-person service, but our band and myself will go back to the Unity Center campus as soon as our shelter in place allows us to be able to be together, just our band and our singers. So until then, we will continue like this. We do have some activities that are ongoing. Let me tell you about them. Our Sunday discussion group on Zoom is continuing to meet, and you do need to register for it from our website or from the app. You can contact Jenna Rowe. I believe she's monitoring the chat right now if you need some help to be able to join the discussion group that will be on Zoom following our time together. My Zoom gatherings are going to be on a short break. My Wednesday gathering in the morning and in the afternoon will be on at least a 2-week break. My mom is here visiting from the East Coast, and I want to give her my complete attention and love. So I will miss those gatherings, but I will be back with you in some way like that just as soon as I can. Midday Centering Prayer with Kim Kennedy will continue on Thursdays at noontime. Evening Meditation with David Stanley will continue on Thursdays at 7 p.m. And please do join us in our weekly prayer focus. We affirm the truth of our seniors, that they are protected, whole, healthy, loved, and surrounded by the divine now and always. Jenna, if you can put that in the chat or add it to the e-blast so we can be together in prayer on that, I'd appreciate it. And just a few reminders, do be sure to go to our YouTube page and subscribe. We do have lots of videos up there. And like it if you do. It does help us get the word out. I recently did a special guided meditation on abundance. It's my gift to you. It is available on YouTube. It's getting a nice amount of viewership. And be sure to share these Sunday videos on Facebook. We want to let as many people know as we can that we are here and live every Sunday. Do make a point of checking out our musicians' websites. Today, I want to especially remind you of Karen Taylor Good, to thank her for supporting not just my service, but so many of our New Thought ministries are relying heavily on the great Empower Music and the team of New Thought musicians there. So please help them and support them. This time is not easy for them. And I want to thank you for remembering the Unity Center with your financial support. As you might imagine, yes, the center is experiencing and taking a bit of a hit during these times, but we also have a solid foundation, and that's because of your support and help. So to the extent that you are able to continue that support, we genuinely appreciate that. If you want to support and you never have before, you can make a one-time gift or a recurring gift by going onto our app. You can download it. It's called the Unity Center app, wherever you ordinarily get your apps. And again, it's easy. You can do one-time or recurring, whatever you like. And if you prefer to write checks, feel free to do that as well. We are checking the mail at the Unity Center regularly. So I invite you to just join me in blessing the support that you share with the center and holding it in your hands. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And more softly, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is. Amen. Please continue to take good care of yourself. Practice all the things that we have been asked to practice here in San Diego: sheltering in place, washing your hands, wearing a mask when you are out in public. Be healthy and safe. And if you need us, please reach out to us. If you need prayer support, if you just need somebody to talk to and you're feeling like, I'm done with this isolation, I've been doing this by myself, I need some help, give us a chance to be there for you. This is an important time to do ministry, and we are here for you. So if you need us, either call the church office 858-689-6500 or drop us an email. We'll get back with you and we will help you and support you. We are in this together. Let us close now with our prayer of protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, wherever we go, God is, and all is well. And together we say, Amen. God bless you. See you next week.